This man's life took a sharp turn when he come face to face with his own dead uncle. Before this all happens, our protagonist, Connor, had been leading a reckless life as a womanizer because he is a famous fashion photographer who always take the opportunities to make out with the models he shot. Connor, as usual, he was busy making out with a model in his office when his assistants barged in and reminded him that his brother's wedding is this weekend, which he had completely forgotten. At the same time, 3 women he had previously slept with were calling his office, but Connor organized a conference call to tell them the relationship would not work and carelessly hung up while they were shouting and crying. Afterward, Connor traveled to his brother's wedding. Despite arriving just in time for the rehearsal, he still tried to convince his brother to escape, even offering his own car. His brother declined his offer, explaining that he truly loved his fiancée and wanted to marry her, Jennifer. Connor's childhood crush soon interrupted their conversation to warn him not to ruin the wedding. Later that evening, while everyone gathered for dinner, Connor drank heavily. Although his brother had selected him to give the toast speech on the wedding day, but Jennifer and the bride objected to the decision. When Connor heard this, he started telling he doesn't even believe in marriage and declared that marriage is a prison and love is a myth, then left to the bathroom. This is where he found his dead Uncle Wayne. Connor was shocked by what he saw and initially believed he was dreaming, but his Uncle Wayne calmed him down. When Connor asked what his uncle was doing there, Wayne replied that Connor was on a very bad path and warned him against repeating his own past mistakes. However, Connor stubbornly told his uncle that he loved his lifestyle as a womanizer and intended to live that way for the rest of his life. Uncle Wayne warned him that 3 other spirits would soon come to show him the mistakes of his ways, and then he disappeared. A panicked Connor returned to the party and ordered a drink to forget the bizarre encounter, but his mood changed immediately when he spotted a beautiful woman next to him. He began flirting, but the woman was the bride's mother and told him she was off limits. Instead, she pointed out a blonde girl staring at him from afar and suggested he try his luck there. As the bride's mother had suggested, the blonde girl approached him and began flirting with him. When she revealed that she was one of the bridesmaids, Connor bluntly asked if she was the one his brother had slept with. Shocked by the question, she denied it, causing Connor to quickly dodge the topic, knowing he slipped out his brother's big secret. Still, after some talk, he convinced her to wait for him in his room. When Connor entered the room, he heard a woman's voice but expected to find the girl he had met earlier. Instead, he discovered the woman who had taken his virginity back in high school. Shocked and desperate, Connor tried to escape. However, he found himself unable to run away. In a desperate state, he demanded to know what she wanted from him. She answered calmly, telling him she came to reveal his past life and force him to face his mistakes. He watched a scene of his younger self playing with Jennifer, his childhood friend. When Jennifer gave him his first camera, he remembered promising to keep the photo he took of her forever. Hearing this, adult Connor became furious with his younger self and insisted that he should never have spoken to a girl like that. Meanwhile, the spirit Allison took Connor to his middle school. Upon their arrival, he saw the students on prom night and watched himself standing there with Jennifer, forcing him to witness his own middle school days. Connor watched his younger self, paralyzed by fear, unable to ask Jennifer to the dance. Jennifer stood waiting, hoping he would finally make a move, but young Connor hesitated too long. Enraged by his own weakness, adult Connor screamed at his childhood self to just ask her, but it was already too late. A senior boy swept in and took her away. Heartbroken, young Connor watched Jennifer dancing and kissing someone else, then fled the school in tears. Connor followed with the spirit, Allison, and watched as his younger self met up with his Uncle Wayne. Seeing the boy's devastation, his Uncle Wayne offered a piece of advice. Loving women was foolish, and the key to getting them was simply to offer no space and show no emotion. Wayne began teaching him the art of seduction. Adult Connor watched with pride, telling Allison that learning these lessons from his uncle had been the greatest gift of his life. After this, Connor changed completely, eventually hooking up with Allison at a high school party. For some reason, Allison felt happy to be the first girl he had ever slept with. She then transported Connor to a time when he had already become a famous photographer. He encountered Jennifer at a bar. While he was busy flirting with other women, he appeared genuinely happy to reconnect with his childhood sweetheart. However, Jennifer found him drastically changed. Although Connor invited her for dinner and sex, but she agreed to dinner only. Connor soon found himself spending quality time with Jennifer. Though it was a period of his life he preferred to forget, Allison forced him to watch. Connor and Jennifer were enjoying themselves. Even when she turned down to sleep with him, Connor did not mind because he was falling in love. Eventually, Jennifer allowed him to sleep with her, but she asked him not to leave her. However, Connor abandoned her the next morning without a hint of remorse. When Jennifer awoke to find him gone, she was left heartbroken, and when Connor watched, he felt a sudden, unfamiliar sense of guilt for his actions. Allison then took him for a drink, but the bar was suddenly filled with every woman he had ever slept with. They surrounded him as if they were going to kill him. Connor then awoke alone in his bedroom, convinced the experience had been a nightmare. He left the room in search of a drink to forget the horrible night, but when he popped the cover off a drink at the wedding venue, it struck the cake stand. Connor tried to save the cake, but he failed, and the wedding cake was ruined. The cake disaster sent the bride into a huge meltdown. As her father and the groom took her away, Connor started cleaning the mess in a desperate situation. Seeing his distress, Jennifer stepped in to help, but when Connor found Jennifer alone, he finally apologized for abandoning her the morning after they had slept together. Jennifer remained skeptical, but Connor insisted he was truly changing. He tried to kiss her, but Jennifer pulled away, explaining that she did not want to have her heart broken a second time. Frustrated with himself, Connor stormed outside and found his assistant, Melanie, sitting in his car. But it wasn't the real Melanie, it was her spirit. Instead of showing him his past, she revealed how others currently perceived him. She brought him to a room where his brother and the bridesmaids were gathered. Though no one could see or hear them, Connor stood invisible as he watched them discuss his character, facing his own reputation. Invisible Connor watched as the bridesmaids admitted they would sleep with him despite his poor character. In contrast, his brother spoke movingly about how Connor had acted as both a mother and father to him after their parents died, describing the gentle, loving man he once was. Touched by these words, Connor felt a surge of emotion. However, the mood shifted when the girls began mocking Jennifer and Connor's past relationship. Hearing their insults, a devastated Jennifer fled in tears, with Connor close behind. As Jennifer cried while attempting to repair the damaged cake, Brad, who was in love with her, came to comfort her. Connor became jealous, but Melanie reminded him the situation was entirely his own fault. Melanie then transported him to witness the 3 women he had cruelly dumped via a conference call. Shocked by the pain he had caused, Connor left the building, only to encounter his uncle's spirit again. His uncle pointed to the women's tears he has made cry, which instantly transformed into a heavy downpour from the sky, accompanied by falling tissues they used. Terrified, Connor scrambled into a car and suddenly snapped back to reality. He rushed back inside to reveal his transformation, but he found the bride screaming. She had known from a bridesmaid that her fiancé had slept with one of her bridesmaids. Though Connor tried to defend his brother that all things happened before they start relationship, but the bride rejected any apology and left. His brother yelled that he had hoped Connor would change, but instead, he had ruined the wedding by telling the secret he told him. As Connor stood devastated and ready to flee, a third mysterious ghost suddenly appeared and took him to the future and showed him Jennifer wearing a veil. He became frustrated when he realized Brad is the one marrying her. Despite his desperate screams to disrupt the ceremony, no one could see or hear him. He watched in deep sadness as Jennifer married someone else. Soon after, the spirit took Connor to see his brother, who had grown old and lonely after his lover left him. In a final, the spirit brought Connor to his own grave. Connor was devastated to find that his brother was the only person present at the funeral. When Connor demanded to know why he was so in love, his uncle's spirit appeared once more and explained that a person who could not love others could not be loved in return. His uncle confessed that he had been just as lonely when he died, told Connor to learn from his mistakes and fix everything, and then pushed him off a cliff. Connor suddenly awoke from the nightmare and felt overjoyed to be alive. He quickly asked what day it was, only to discover that it was his brother's wedding day. Connor rushed to his brother, only to find him alone. His brother explained that his fiancée had been unable to forgive him because of him and she had already left. Connor immediately jumped into his car and chased after her. He finally caught up with her and Jennifer. He began speaking to the bride. Connor apologized for everything and pleaded, explaining how much his brother loved her and warning that she would never find happiness if she left him, ultimately ending up as lonely as he had been. Touched by his sincerity, she agreed to marry his brother, and a thrilled Connor hugged her as Jennifer looked on, happy to see such a profound change in him. Finally, Connor served as the photographer at his brother's wedding and delivered a heartfelt best man toast. Following the ceremony, he approached Jennifer to profess his love and his desire to be with her forever. Although Jennifer initially expressed disbelief, Connor showed her the first photo he had ever taken of her from his wallet. Overjoyed that he had kept the picture all those years, she decided to give Connor one last chance. And this is when this beautiful story ended.